Welcome back to learning the Hiragana symbols. But before we go back to Hiragana, let's take a look at another rule for writing Japanese characters. In the previous lesson, we talked about how to place the symbols on the piece of paper and about stroke order. Today, we will learn to draw several basic strokes, which will make our characters and symbols of both scripts correct and visually more appealing. We will begin with the horizontal line, which, as we already know, is written from left to right. We begin to draw it with straight pressure, increasing the pressure towards the end of the stroke. You can raise your hand after making a stop. So, the result of the stroke is thin at the beginning and thick at the end with a marked pressure point. The vertical line is drawn, such as fix your hand in the starting point. Then start moving your hand down gradually, decreasing the pressure. Now we did the opposite. At the beginning, we see the pressure point, and at the end the stroke becomes thin and fades away. The stroke falling leftwards is now introduced. Fix your hand in the starting point. Start moving your hand down and to the left gradually, decreasing the pressure. Release the stroke by carefully raising your hand. Here, we see that the stroke is very smooth and it fades away at the end, just like the vertical line. Now, let's practice the stroke falling rightwards. Fix your hand in the starting point. While applying pressure, start moving your hand slightly to the right. Stop when 2/3 of the stroke is done, and then take more to the right to finish the stroke. Release the stroke. The stroke looks broken, with an obvious pressure point where the direction of the stroke changes slightly. As in the previous two cases, the stroke fades smoothly at the end. Now, the central vertical line ends with a hook is introduced. Fix your hand in the starting point. Move your hand down until the end while applying pressure. Stop and then brush up left and upwards. And now, let's go back to learning the symbols of Hiragana. We will start by looking at the row with the consonant S. When writing the symbols su and so, we must try not let them fall to the right or left. Keeping strictly to the central vertical is essential for writing these symbols. I am now giving explanation of some word. Sake is alcoholic drink. Sushi is handmade oblong rice with pieces of seafood, vegetables, or Japanese omelette tamago on the top of them. The row with the consonant T. When writing the symbols chi and te, it is, once again, the central vertical line that we strict adhere to. The vertical line in the te symbol must be going straight down. Otherwise, if we deviate it a little to the right, there is a risk that it will look like the symbol to. When writing the symbol tsu, we keep to the horizontal center line. The next row begins with the consonant N. In this row, the greatest difficulty is probably in writing the symbols nu and ne. To write them well, we mentally draw two horizontal lines between which we place our symbols. Every upper and every lower point in these symbols must lie on these horizontal lines. In the row with the consonant H, the most difficult symbol for writing is the fu symbol. A typical mistake is that the lower side point jump up and end up in the middle of the symbol. However, if you look at the full version of the symbol in some examples, you can see that the lower point represents an infinity sign of some sort. In the short version, which is more familiar to the Japanese, this infinity sign is written discontinuously. Therefore, when we write the element, these points must be both located at the lower level, as if lying on a horizontal line, and the direction of these points must be exact, so that we could recognize the infinity sign if we finished the line. The symbol he is placed exactly in the middle of the square. The symbols ha and ho keep strictly to the central vertical line. The hi symbol should be rounded nicely. We have already covered a sufficient number of hiragana symbols, and can already practice not only writing them using the samples, but also by doing exercises. But in order to do the given exercises, we first need to learn how to type Japanese characters using a keyboard. Today, we will start talking about it. There are two ways to type Japanese characters. By using Latin letters, that is Romaji input, and by using the Japanese kana, that is kana input. From our point of view, using Romaji input seems better, since it does not require memorizing the location of Japanese characters on the keyboard. And the point is just to type each letter of a syllable. The suggested set of Japanese characters is based on the Hepburn romanization. This system is named after its creator, James Curtis Hepburn, who was a Protestant missionary, doctor, translator, and teacher. In 1886, he presented the final version of the transcription, which became very popular after World War II. With the help of Hepburn's system, the Japanese write their names in passports, names of places on road signs, as well as names of companies. It is also used in Japanese textbooks for foreigners. The Hepburn system isn't difficult to use except for some small details, which we will be discussing in every lesson as we learn new characters. Now we will look at the rows we have already learned, that is, from row A to row Ha. In these rows, symbols are typed as they are read and heard. However, there are three symbols that require special attention. They are shi, chi, and tsu. Following the Hepburn system, we type them as SHI, CHI, TSU. However, each of them has one more option. SI, TI, TU. Just like the time before, we finished the lesson by doing exercises. Practice your writing by using the samples for the hiragana symbols. And remember to apply all the rules of character, writing, and stroke order. In addition to the samples, there is an exercise for vocabulary revision based on these two lessons.